Okay. So next step to do, I'm going to hide this, is to change the scale. Most fabrication equipment uses the metric system. So if you're laser cutting or setting up anything to 3D print, you have to change the settings and you have to change from inches under units, or there's a long list of units over here. Change the units from inches to millimeters. And what I mean over here is if you have a PC, there's a toolbar and it says units the same way. You change it from millimeters to inches under units and tolerances. Scale the model by 25.4. That's what you want. And say yes. So that's going to blow the model way up, which you can see when I zoom out, which is what we want. Okay, next step is to select the objects one at a time. And you're going to do this for both of the objects, where if you have 4 sides, you're going to do it for all 4 sides. But then you go ahead and export this selected object. So file, export selected, and I've got that object selected. Let me close this here. And I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to export it as an STL file, which is the same file type you would export it as if you were going to 3D print. I'll just put it on my desktop and export. Tolerance is fine, binary is fine, and it's exported. And you'll want to do that with both of the sides. And then you're going to Google slicer for Fusion 360. There it is. You're going to go to the website, click on it. You're going to have to create an account to download it, but it's all free. This is Autodesk. You might want to create an account anyway because you have access to all of the different software if you're using a Cal Poly email address. So it's all free. So Windows 64 or Mac. I want Mac because that's what I got. And then I'm going to go to download. And then it's going to ask me to sign in or create an account. You will have to create an account. I already have one. And then you download it, and remember that you're going to have to open it by right-clicking and going to open once it's downloaded, because it is a program from a different source other than the App Store, and you have to kind of force open it. But once you do, you'll have this program. Let me just search for it here. There it is. Slicer for Fusion 360. Okay, so you'll find the Slicer for Fusion 360 program. You open it after you install it. And this is what it looks like. Next, we want to import. And we'll import the file that we exported a minute ago and go ahead and open it. Okay, so this looks fine. That's what it looked like before. Now we have to come over here and look. We see the height is at 8 inches. We don't want 8 inches. We actually want 5.5. And this is what I was saying. You can change the size of it afterwards. So 5.5 is what we want the height and width to be of our box, and so that's what we're going to make our object here. Now, depending on the material you're using, you're going to have different sizes here. You can set a custom size, which is what I want to do, by just clicking right there and going and adding a custom size, title it whatever you want, and then I've got it already made up here for the laser cutter. The laser cutter bed is 12 by 20, so I made up a size that is 19.75 by 11.75, a little bit smaller purposefully so that way I would be able to kind of have a little bleed on the sides, just making it easier to laser cut. Then the thickness of your material is dependent on your materials you're using. So you need to find out what the thickness of that material is, either by having it calipered or by knowing when you're buying the material what the size is. So I know that my material is 3 millimeters. So I don't know what it is in inches, but I've already set up my size in inches here, so I can switch this to millimeters, and it will blow those up to the equivalent. And then I can just select my thickness, which is going to be 3. That's the thickness of the material of the foam core I'm using. So this will be dependent on what you're doing. And then if I switch it back into inches, I can see it gives me the size in inches. Okay, so laser, These are the sizes 0, 0, 0, 0. It's all, or 0, 1. That doesn't matter for right now, but done. Okay, and then you have to go back to your drop down and go to the one you created, because by default it still has it set at 8.5 by 11. All right, so we've got the size of our material set here. We've got our size of our block here. Next we go to construction technique. Now there's all different kinds of construction techniques, and we won't get into them all here, but you might want to play with them later on if you want. You can see kind of what they do, right? So interlock slices kind of gives you a tongue and groove kind of deal, but we're going to use stacked slices. Okay, so that is what we're looking for right there. Those are stacks of foam core. Unfortunately, they're going the wrong direction. We want them actually to go vertical. They're going horizontal right now. So we can change that. Not a big deal. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here and go to slice direction. And then we're going to click on... Oh, sorry, that blue right there. So move it over to 90. Once it's there, it flips all of those so they're rotated to 90. Okay, beautiful. So that's what we want right there. Those are our stacks that we're going to use to laser cut, stack them up, and then we're going to use that to make our mold. Great. Next, what we want to talk about is why or how we take this and we make our object. So if we come over here to Get Plans, you can see that we've got our 12 by 20 sheets all set up beautifully, even numbered, which is great that they did that, but we're going to have to remove that later on because that'll take a lot more time to do. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is going to take 8 sheets of 12 by 20 because I've got a lot of mass I'm removing. So the more negative space, the more sheets you're going to have to use. Great. So now what we want to do is we want to export this to my computer. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on this down arrow over here and save a copy to my computer. And the 3DMK is what we want. Title it what you want. Save it. Keep it. You need it. All right. But you're going to save a copy because after you laser cut this whole thing, you're going to come back and you want to watch these assembly steps. So this is cardboard here, but I mean, I can make it plywood. And plastic, why not? You know, you can kind of see. Doesn't matter, it's just a visualization. But what we really want is the instructions, how to put this thing together, because you're going to have a lot of little pieces and you don't know where they go. And if you don't do this right, you're going to have to figure it out on your own, and it's going to be difficult to do. So I just rolled this bar back to the start, and you can see one is highlighted. It's right here. And so if you're laser cutting, make sure you keep all of your forms inside of your foam core bounding box, tape them down, whatever. Bring tape with you. And that way you've got them locked in the right position here. So 1 is there, then it goes to 2, then it goes to 3. And you can see it's highlighting them as I keep going. So this is how you know the order of things. And so you're going to go through these assembly steps later on. That's why you're saving it, all right? That's all I'm showing you. Okay, so let's go back to Get Plans here, and we're going to export it to your computer, but instead of an EPS, we're going to use a PDF file. So we're going to export it to the computer as a PDF file. I'll call it Untitled PDF on my desktop here just for now, and I'm going to save it. All right, so there's our PDF. I'm going to open it up with Adobe Acrobat first. And I'm going to organize these pages. You're not done yet by any means, so don't just think that, oh, I can use this. Well, maybe you can use it if you're just cutting it out by hand. But if you want it laser cut, these next steps are crucial. If you want to do it by hand, you can actually just print this whatever size you wanted it printed, and then and use it as templates. But from now on, it's going to be for people who are laser cutting, okay? So if I click on this, organize pages, I'm going to actually make 4 files out of it. So I want to separate this out into multiple PDFs. So I'm going to actually just delete all of these 3 pages here, File, save as, call it stack 1. Save. All right. Open back up your other file here. Organize pages. And this time I'm going to delete all but the second one. Basically, the reason for this is we're going to bring it into Illustrator, and we want to have individual artboards that we're using. So, okay, this is 2. So, File, Save as, Desktop, call it Stack 2. All right. Open up the original, and we're going to do it again. Organize pages. This time we're going to delete this one. Okay. This time we're going to delete this one. Okay. And this one. Okay. And then we're going to call it File, Save as, Desktop, Stack 3. Open up this one. And you really want to just be careful on this that you don't delete the wrong pages and laser it twice. So this time I'm keeping this one. So I'm going to click here, delete. Okay. Click here, delete. Okay. Click here, delete. Okay. File, save as, Desktop, Stack 4. Okay. And close it all down. We're done with Acrobat. Next step, close all tabs. I'm going to pause it while I open Illustrator. Sometimes it takes a second. All right, so here we are in Illustrator. And I'm going to click on my first one here, Stack 1, and go Open with Adobe Illustrator. And what we've got here is an artboard that's all set up the way we want it. The only thing that we have on here is these numbers that we want to get rid of. So if we click on any one of these numbers, because they're all the same color, the dashed lines, everything's the same color, we can go select same stroke color, and you can see now that it's selected all of those red ones. So we should just be able to hit delete, and it gets rid of that. Then the next step is actually to Command All, select everything, and go to, it's not working. Let me just use the open pointer here. Let's go to Zoom, Alt, and zoom out a little bit here just so we can see it all. Open pointer or open selection tool and select everything. And we're going to put stroke, point, or up here, sorry. Stroke, I'm going to make it 0.1, tab. Okay. Now it's ready to laser cut. So all you have to do next is change the artboard size. So let's go to Document Setup up here and go to Edit Artboard. And then we'll change the size of the artboard. So we've got 11.75 by 19.75. Let's change that to 12 by 20. And what that does is that gives us, see, before it uses all of the space, which we cannot do. So, and you can see these little holes. Those are actually going to line up so that you can use needles or wire to line up these blocks perfectly. So we want to keep those. One thing we do not need to keep is actually this right here. So open selection tool. This is the exterior line showing our artboard size previously, which we do not want laser cut. So that's kind of important. All of the stuff that isn't laser cut and we don't want, we should delete. Because if you don't delete it, it's going to take up more time. And that costs money. So let's go back to Zoom and go to Alt and zoom back out and look at it. Okay, so these are the shapes that we're going to have laser cut. And we're ready to go. All we have to do now is File and Save and it should automatically save it as a PDF. So if we look at stack 1 here, the PDF, we've got it all ready to go. So we're just going to repeat that process in Illustrator for the rest of the project. And of course, remember, this is just one half of the side of the object. So you're going to need to do this for both sides. So going through the slicer program with the STL file like we did earlier, you're going to have to do that for every side you're going to laser cut. But this is what you want to bring into the tech lab and to have them laser cut it, and they'll be able to do it from here on out. So that is what we call a wrap. So thank you very much.